Welcome to the 43rd SCCA Runoffs. Last year from Mid-Ohio, problems at the start of the Formula Atlantic race further back in the pack. Up front, pole sitter Graham Rahal falls to third. Now Rahal on the move, back to second when Burl Swan spins into the gravel. Now sight set squarely on the lead. Rahal past leader Dan Selznick. He takes over the point. Rahal takes the checkers 30 years after his father wins the Formula B championship at the runoff, and at 16 years old, Graham Rahal takes his first national championship with a very proud father, Bobby, there to congratulate him.
I just want him to achieve his goals. You know, he loves this thing, and I'm so proud of him.
Formula Atlantic is the premier formula car class in the Sports Car Club of America. It's certainly the fastest. And when you look for national championship contenders in the 2006 runoffs, look no further than this man, Keith Grant. 6 wins on the season, including the June sprints, and he already has a national championship to his credit in GT4. He knows how to get the job done. But if he's going to win, he's going to have to get past David Wilcox. He finished 3rd in the 2005 runoffs and has 2 wins on the season. Now, this could be a technology battle. Wilcox in a much older 1988 Swift, but still very quick indeed. Just 2 of the top contenders in the Formula Atlantic class. For more, let's check in with Dorsey Schrader.
Well, Dan Selznick is certainly no rookie here at these SCCA National Runoffs. In fact, he's finished runner-up 2 times, once in 03, and again last year, 05, he was runner-up to Graham Rahal. Well, Graham Rahal's not here this weekend. This could be the year for Mr. Selznick. If it's not, David Grant is the younger brother of the pole sitter. Now, the 2 brothers race against each other all the time, and David has won 2 races this year already. Will the 2 brothers work together today, or will David beat his brother? We'll know that very soon.
The SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Drivers work from the drop of the first green flag of the year to make the grade and have the results that will earn them an invitation to the most coveted event in the SCCA. And once you earn the invitation, there's but one thing to do: perform flawlessly. The fastest formula car class in the SCCA is next, Formula Atlantic. Over 700 drivers from around North America have made the grade and descended upon Heartland Park here in Topeka. The rain has descended as well. A rejuvenated Heartland Park becomes only the 5th venue for the SCCA runoffs in its 43-year history, and the drivers in Formula Atlantic are about to do battle on a very soggy racetrack. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till along with Dorsey Schrader. Jim Trado and Mike Johnson are down in pit lane. Dorsey, the rain has come to Kansas, and these guys are going to have to do battle on a brand new racetrack for the runoffs.
Last race of the weekend, it held off, but not for these guys. We have 2.5 miles and 14 corners of soggy racetrack. A new front straightaway. No longer do you go down the drag strip. Now it's its own racetrack. Turn 1 and 2 have been opened up. A lot of passing attempts in turn 1. Turn 6, turn 8, good passing places. This is a mud pit, Brian. It's going to be slippery.
Well, in the Formula Atlantic, we say it's the fastest formula class in the SCCA, and it is one of my favorites, and I know yours as well.
It is. This is the 25th race. All day long they've been racing on. A lot of cars have been off the racetrack. You can see from our camera shots, there's been a lot of mud brought on the track. The track at the beginning of the week, it was perfect.
Well, it's far from perfect right now. From the stories in pit lane, let's head down to Jim Trado.
21-year-old Kyle Kelly thinks he may have an advantage. He rolls off 5th today. However, this young man has raced in go-karts, Spec Racer Ford, and Formula Mazda in the wet. He loves it racing in the wet, and he was fastest in the morning session. He confidently told me, I think I have more experience in the wet than anybody in the field. Let's check in with Mike Johnson.
I tell you what, guys, it was like a Formula One race down here at the start. All these engine covers off and shock covers off. Nobody knew how hard it was raining, so everyone's down here making that last-minute shock change, ride height change. Of course, everybody's on rain tires. Bernie Sonier, fellow St. Louisan, I asked him what he did to get prepared for the race. He just said, put as much wing in as I possibly could. The taller rain tires should be all I need, and he's hoping to go to the front.
Well, it should be a great battle, and this rain is the great equalizer. Horsepower, you don't necessarily want it. Setup is going to be the key.
This could be for a great race. What you do, of course, is you put the rain tires on. You also soften the chassis up as much as you can. Throw those wings on, boys. We need downforce.
Well, he saw David Wilcox in that older Swift. This is going to help him. He can compete. We'll be back to Formula Atlantic, the national championships, right after this. The battle for the 2006 Formula Atlantic SCCA National Championship is about to begin under some very soggy skies here in Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas. Everybody with rain tires on, there's no doubt about it here, Dorsey. You got to be running the range. We got some standing water out there.
And you see how slow they're going already. And brakes are locking up, tires are locking up. Too much front brake bias with what that car was.
Take a look at this. Keith Grant will start from the pole. He won the June sprints, and he is a former national champion in another class. Dan Selznick, who has finished second, is in the field looking for his first win. The 12 car with David Grant is the car that Catherine Legg drove to several wins last year. That's a look at the top 10. Looking back on through the field, J.R. Walker, Central Division champion there in 14th. Got some good talent in the field. It's not a lot of cars, but good cars.
We saw that front brake lock up, that front tire lock up on the car. One of the things you do in the rain is you take and you dial in rear brake. In other words, you have a proportioning valve. You put more brake to the rear because since it's slippery, you can't brake as hard. That being said, when you can't brake as hard, the weight of the vehicle doesn't transfer more to the nose as usual.
They will have a lot of challenges ahead. For more from pit lane, Mike, what do you have, bud?
Well, you think with the tight confines of these cars and as physically demanding as they are, that most of the drivers would be these young kind of, go-kart stars of the future. But in reality, Bill Goldkind, driving car 16, has had 2 hips replaced, and he has a stainless steel elbow. I asked him, does it hurt in the car without, bouncing around all over the curbs? He says the only pain he feels is in his cheeks because the smile on his face is so big. Over to Jim.
And Mike J.R. Walker wishes he had more to smile about. This week was a learning week for him. Monday, learning the track. Tuesday in the wet. And Wednesday, his best day to qualify. They found his wing to be 2 millimeters too wide. They bounced his time, so that's why he's so far back on the grid. The Central Division champ certainly looking forward to move forward quickly.
Well, it is a game of inches, less than inches, hundreds of inches, let's say. And unfortunately, J.R. Walker found that out. So Tech did not approve his setup. He gets sent to the back, loses those times, and has to start all over again. My favorite car, when I think about all the cars that I've driven, Dorsey, even versus a good Indy car, I think my favorite car was an Atlantic car.
And I also agree. I'd spent 10 years in these cars. Of course, mine were flat bottom. They were a lot older than this, but it's a wonderful class, a class that used to lead you into some sort of a pro open wheel ride.
Saw John Thompson in the 22. He is a former national champion in the Atlantic class. I drove that Swift DB4 just like David Grant is in, and I can tell you it is a great, great car. David Wilcox, I should say, not David Grant, but what a great car, the Swift DB4. And with the rain, even though that's older technology, Wilcox may be able to do great things.
It will help him a great deal, no question. It'll give him a more equal playing field to play with. This is going to be deplorable conditions at the start. We'll see what happens.
Another car that you saw there, the 91 of John Strickler, is actually a Pro Formula Mazda, but ranks as an Atlantic car. The green flag waves, and the field is off. Keith Grant in the green and blue, number 40, leads the field down to the first turn, and Dan Selznick really got lost at the start. Talk about lost over the
Selznick on the outside trying to make a pass through turn 1. And a spin by Keith Grant.
Grant spins out of the lead. Keith Grant from the pole is going to drop well back in the field. Unfortunately, no one knows what the racetrack is like right now, so these first laps are just reconnaissance, and Keith Grant gets to turn 1 and realizes, whoa, I am too fast, it is too wet, and I am gone.
You had to assume it was going to be really bad because of all the racing. This being the 25th race of the weekend. All day long it's been trying to rain, but never really did it until right now. All that oil, all the other stuff on the racetrack is going to be bad until they get it scrubbed in.
Wettest race of the day. Keith Grant from the pole. Great lead down to turn 1, and then obviously has his problems.
You see what happened right here. Gets on the throttle and it breaks the back tires loose. Around he goes.
And I believe that was Merle Swan in the silver and red car that takes the lead. Second angle here.
Yeah, I said that was something. You're right, it is Merle Swan. And that just simply got on the throttle too hard, and the rear tires didn't have any grip yet.
And he still has plenty of time to make up for it. You see him, he gets down on the inside, and like you said, these cars have about 250 horsepower. Don't weigh but a little over 1,000 pounds, so easy to spin the tires, especially in these wet conditions.
On the first turn of the first lap in particular, when you know there's no heat in these tires. They do also need heat, the rain tires.
Good battle here. Look at the cars sliding through. The car 15 and having a problem right now, Mark Nixon.
Mark Nixon off the racetrack, stuck in the grassy area.
Well, as wet as it is, as muddy as it is, and as low as the ride height is on these Atlantic cars, once you get off the grass, you're going to have a problem. Contact,
that
it looks
could have been contact from the rear that sent that car around. Certainly there was contact afterwards. I can't say for sure is what caused this.
And it was with 91, John Stickler, in that Star Pro Mazda car that was out there, the only one in the field, so easy to recognize. Meanwhile, you go up front to the leader, Merle Swan, leading in his number 88. The Silver Swift has taken over the point, and then we stream back through. There's a good look at the number 70 of David Wilcox. I was talking about Wilcox perhaps having a good opportunity in the rain. He has moved up to 4th, so he on a move up to the front. David Wilcox trying to take advantage of the slick conditions to move forward. A problem back here further on.
That's J.R. Walker, who's losing grip right now. He spins simply by himself, showing you how slippery this race surface is.
Remember Walker trying to move up from being starting a little bit further down in the field. Oh, the 12, he's going to slide wide.
You see it break loose. He had a little twitch, and that's all it took, and off the road he goes.
Now both Grant brothers have had problems. That was David Grant. He was running 3rd. Now he has had an off, and he will drop several positions back. He needs to get it back under control and settle down. His brother Keith back in 5th. So Keith has a long way to go as well. Meanwhile, Swan having a good run, turning in great lap times right now.
There again is the little bobble in the middle of the corner, and that's all it took to go out the outside. These are the first laps made on this wet racetrack to scrub the dirt and oil off the top surface.
Merle Swan over 7 seconds.
Full course yellow.
That is going to go away, though. Just as I said, over 7 seconds. We go full course caution. That will bring out the pace car, and the field will come back. But I can tell you one thing, Merle Swan has been magic. As I look down the timing board, he has been as much as 6 seconds faster than any other car on the racetrack. So Swan, experienced with these cars. He was a crew chief in the Toyota Atlantic Pro Series on Formula Atlantic type cars. He takes care of several other cars in the series, including the championship-winning C Sports racer. So Swan, with a lot of experience, putting it to good use right here in the Formula Atlantic National Championship battle.
Preparation and talent are combined for Merle Swan. He's not only a very talented racer, winning 5 times this year and the Midwest Division champion, he's also busy preparing race cars as a living. So you're kind of combining your business and passions all in one, Merle. 7 race cars here at the Runoffs, so that seems like a lot of work. How do you handle it?
It's really busy. I haven't had a lot of sleep in the last month, a lot of energy drinks, and my driver's keeping me running at the track quite a bit.
I understand you had a chance to go, and you did do some professional racing as a mechanic. Tell us about that and why you came back to the club racing.
Yeah, I was working as a crew chief for Dorcott during their Indy Lights program, and I really enjoyed that, but I wanted to start my own business, so I came back to Kansas City, and now I prepare 12 race cars for drivers in the Midwest.
I think the great thing about Merle Swan's experience as a crew chief, Dorsey, even though it was on the Indy Light program, he knows exactly what to do when the conditions change. He's been there, done that in these high-powered formula-type cars before, and when the weather changes like this, he knows what to do.
And there's more than one thing that you do. I mean, a lot of these drivers will obviously do the simple things, but if you have a regimented thing, a list of things that you do that you're used to because you've done this before, well, you just get after the program, you do your springs, you do your sway bars, you do shock settings, you do wings, you know, brake bias settings. There's more than just one little change that you do when it rains like this.
Like you said, he's got the book. If this, then that, and that looks like exactly what Merle Swan has done. Jim?
And Merle and his boys were really busy yesterday with this race car, setting up for the rain. I understand you guys did all your testing in the dry, but you predicted it may rain for this morning session.
Yeah, basically all we did was watch the weather and just figured it probably was going to be damp, and did the setup on the car in the pits, and it actually worked out really well.
So while some others were doing the Wizard of Oz museum tour yesterday, what were you guys doing to prepare for this morning session?
We were working and watching the weather.
Mike?
We were just watching the weather. Mike?
Yeah, I'm over here with Morgan Brady. He's the team manager for US Racetronics, which is the, they're actually handed the car, or gave the car to Kyle Kelly. Now, tell us the story that Kyle just damaged his car. He rented his car to somebody. They destroyed it before we got to the race. You guys stepped in and offered your car.
Yeah, Kyle came to us. Initially, we were planning on supporting him in his own car, but we recently acquired a car and gave Kyle the opportunity, and we're just out here hoping for the best.
Now, what's he telling you about the conditions right now on the track?
Appears it's drying up. We went with an intermediate setup, so that's working in our favor.
All right, well, these guys are looking for a great restart here. They're going to start second, and, you know, as we saw at the beginning, that spray is going to be a big key when we come back to green.
Hit him, knocked him off track, installed the engine.
Well, it's going to be interesting if the track is drying up because, of course, no pit stops are planned in this 18-lap race, or 40 minutes, whichever comes first. If the track dries, then these drivers are going to have to be creative about finding ways to keep these tires alive.
Talk about being creative. Kyle Kelly used to sleep in his truck during the Atlantic Series so he could make the races, used his prize money to go from race to race with. So Kyle Kelly is a racer and uses obviously all the determination that he can muster. Right now, we'll see if that determination can take him past Merle Swan. The Formula Atlantic National Championship from the SCCA Runoffs will be coming right back at you. The 2006 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, this time for Formula Atlantic. Under full course caution, 4 laps in the books, and Merle Swan leads his first national championship race in the SCCA Formula Atlantic class, looking for his first national championship. Under full course caution, understand that the 0 of Patrick Witherspoon has gone off course. They'll have to remove him, make sure he's in a safe place, and just diabolical conditions right now, Dorsey. The thing that's bad about it, yeah, it's wet, but you'd almost rather have it be raining. When it stops raining, the track begins to dry. It's different every single lap.
It will be. It actually gets worse. It gets more slippery. You saw the 0 car getting towed in. Witherspoon's car went off the road, and he's on his way back to pit lane.
Mike, how much standing water is down in pit lane?
Well, you know, right now there's just enough there's probably like an 1/8 of an inch or something like that. It's very, very puddly down here. So, but it has stopped raining. It has dried up. Now, I've been talking to a lot of the teams, asking them what they've done, you know, downforce, setup, springs. I'm curious, Brian, you've worked with some of the greater Atlantic and Indy Lights engineers out there. What would your guys be doing right now, you think?
Well, you got to definitely soften the car in the beginning, and that's what you want. Downforce, we heard about it. You want to add extra downforce. And Dorsey, you alluded to it. Brake bias is critical because under the brakes in the rain, you're not transferring as much weight to the front. And if you don't adjust your brake bias, you're going to have big trouble. You're going to lock those front brakes and go sliding right off.
Absolutely. It won't steer with the front wheels not turning, and that's something it's really easy to forget. Watch the restart.
Now it's going to be critical to control that 250-plus horsepower in the back. You saw Kelly with a little wheel spin. Swan with a great jump makes me believe maybe he's got a little softer setup on that car, puts the power down, leaps to the lead, and controls it down into turn 1.
In the place where it's not the worst, you think where you're going the quickest right through here would be the worst place. It's not. The slow corners are the worst because there's no downforce being made when you're doing under 50 miles an hour.
Swan continues to lead off of 2. Then back to Kelly and Grant. Then David Wilcox in that blue and white older Swift being under pressure right now by the number 91 of John Strickler. This is a great battle for third. Strickler in that green and white Pro Mazda behind him doesn't have the downforce that these Atlantic cars have, doesn't even have as wide of a tire, but has a great setup on that car and is wheeling it really, really good.
John Strickler out of the ranks of Spec Racer Ford to come into this with the Mazda Pro Mazda.
Big slide by Wilcox off the corner, spinning the tires. I don't think he has the setup that he wants on it. A lot of wheel spin coming off turn 5.
Well, you're going to get that, aren't you, when you've got the 250 ponies going and slippery as this.
Now Keith Grant in the blue and green Swift right behind him. Grant, your pole sitter, trying to work his way back up. But Strickler trying to take the battle to Wilcox, under braking into the bus stop. He's got him.
Got him under brake. That was good. That car should be good and clean in the straight line, but it doesn't. Oh, and the car off.
That was one of our lead cars. I believe it may be the 33 of Kelly. We'll have to get a look at it, but I believe Kyle Kelly has been off the track. Now Wilcox coming under attack. It was Kelly. Wilcox was coming under attack by Keith Grant, but they have now gone past Kyle Kelly.
That looked like the exit of the bus stop on the back where we know it's really muddy back there.
These conditions, they're changing every lap. And the other thing about these formula cars, open wheels, a lot of spray, Dorsey. These rain tires really pick up the water, throw it in the air, and look at Strickler making the move, trying to get around David Grant in the red and white Swift right there. Had to drive off the corner, but that Mazda, you can see the tires much narrower than on the Atlantic cars in front.
And Brian, in the rain, the narrower tire has the advantage because it's less likely to float up on when it hits a puddle in aquaplane, as we say. Aquaplane is when the tire gets up on top of the water and doesn't cut through it. The narrower tire cuts through the tire through the water better.
But you look at the narrow rear wing and no tunnels on the Mazda, so he doesn't have the downforce that David Grant has, so maybe it's a trade-off. Look at Keith Grant now in the blue and green Swift, trying to get around the high side.
Keith Grant was pole sitter. He is the track record holder here.
Kyle Kelly trying to hold on. Grant really putting the pressure on. And interestingly enough, Dorsey, these guys are driving right on line. No, Kelly off the outside.
Yeah, Kelly just drops the outside tires into the grease, and he can't put the throttle on. Grant seizes the opportunity, drives up the inside.
Well, interesting though, I was saying they're driving on line. I find that to be strange because typically in the wet, you don't want to be on the dry line. That's where all the oil is.
Well, usually what happens is on the dry line, or on the regular surface, it gets polished from everybody driving on it. But this is new pavement, Brian. Maybe it's not to that degree yet where it's not so polished on that dry line.
But all the oil from 24 other SCCA National Championship events. Wilcox
in trouble now. Can't make the corner. He realized he had too much speed. He had to just check up and bypass that corner.
I don't know. I think I would be experimenting, braking offline, running wide of apexes by a car length or so, looking for better pavement without the oil and the grime on it. You saw right there. That's exactly what Keith Grant did off of that apex. Stays off of that one about a half a car length as well. These guys right now, this is unknown territory. They haven't been on the track in the wet, so they're learning every single lap, hunting for grip each time around.
Certainly looks like they get in trouble if they get too far past the center out. It looks like the outside of the racetrack just has no grip at all right now.
Kyle Kelly trying to come back on Keith Grant. This battle a good one, but it just seems that Kelly cannot get the drive off the corner. Checks his mirrors, but all he sees is gray spray. So difficult in these open wheel cars.
Did you see how long he had to look in that mirror? He had to stare at it really for a long time to figure out if anybody was back there, because you don't see a thing.
Keith Grant trying to make amends for his problems early on. He started from the pole. He now runs fourth, working his way up. The Formula Atlantic National Championship. We'll be back for more right after this. The 2006 SCCA Formula Atlantic National Championships at the drop of the green. Keith Grant gets a great run, but then has problems down in turn one.
On the throttle too hard, goes around and drops that lead.
Merle Swan gets a great jump, takes over the lead, but then problems a little further back for the 15 of Mark Nixon.
And he might have got help, but this one was all unknown. That shows you how slippery it is right now. Of course, this all in the beginning laps.
J.R. Walker was trying to make amends for his poor qualifying. He had his problems, and then problems again for David Grant this time. And that takes us to a full course caution. A couple of cars off the racetrack, so we had to go full course caution. Merle Swan on the restart still holds the lead. A great jump on the restart over Kyle Kelly. And then battles all throughout, I should say. Merle Swan continuing to lead, and he's built up a good one, Dorsey.
6-second lead just since the restart. He is checking out, and I think, like you and I were talking before, it's because this particular car has been dialed into a full range setup this morning.
And I think that's exactly what you need. The other guy with a great setup on the car is obviously the 91 of Strickler. He's the fastest car on the racetrack right now, but one of the best battles is right here. Keith Grant in the 40, running fourth right now. David Wilcox in the number 70, the older technology Swift DB4.
And we're used to watching Wilcox puts on such a show in that car. It doesn't have the downforce. It doesn't have a mechanical grip chance of beating Grant, but he doesn't care.
But in the rain, it's the great equalizer. If he had the right setup on the car, the mechanical grip would be there. The technology doesn't mean that much right now. It's all about trying to find the right setup. Keith Grant, a good drive off of turn two. Good battle here, but some problems a little bit earlier. This is your second place car of Strickler. Remember, I said he was running the fastest lap times. Maybe he pressed just a bit too hard.
Boy, and you can see if you go just a little bit out of boundaries, you're gone.
So different than the dry. You make a small mistake in the dry, you recover. You make a small mistake in the wet, you're off the racetrack.
Look at the amount of mud to the outside of the racetrack from all the cars that have been off there today. So you know if you get over there by that, what's going to happen.
And there's a good look at Strickler trying to work his way back. John Strickler in that green and white Mazda trying to work his way back past David Wilcox in that older Swift DB4.
Well, I say John Strickler came from Spec Racer 4, but before that, back in 1979, actually it was about 1981 by the time he bought it, but he bought my March 79B Atlantic car, so it's not his first time in Formula Atlantic.
Now he has a lot of experience in high horsepower. Look at the mud.
He goes in the mud. there it went. You saw the mud spray out the back, and that's all it took.
And that's not his fault. He can't see it there, but you saw the mud come off of the tires, the rear wheels spin, and John Strickler around for the second time today.
That spray turned from white to brown, and then you knew exactly what was going to happen.
You see his crew looking on. They have watched him move to the front, move to the back, move to the front, and now problems again. Take a replay. Take a look at the replay and watch.
The spray out the back. The spray is white like it should be with water. Then it's going to turn brown, and then he's going to go around.
Just turns chocolate. He was looking around the outside, running a little offline there. And we saw some cars off earlier there in the bus stop. A lot of mud was brought back on the racetrack, and obviously, unfortunately, John Strickler found it. Battle for fourth. Wilcox now beginning to move up on Keith Grant.
Keith Grant in that green car again was the pole sitter. He is the current track record holder here at Heartland Park. Wilcox, older car, not as much downforce, but we know how Wilcox drives, man. He puts on a show.
Putting on a show right now. Watch him through this very high-speed turn 3. Downforce makes a big difference here.
And you can see a little bit of a dry line starting to show up, Brian. It's starting to really dry a little bit.
And I think the great thing is, as cool as it is, you can afford to run your rain tires in the dry and not worry about overheating them right now.
There's a good look at where it's drying. These cars throwing that spray up in the air. This is to spin early on. Down into turn 1, lap 1, cold tires, gets on the throttle, breaks the rear end loose, round he goes. Now he's been trying to slowly work his way back to the front.
Look at all the water that was standing there in turn 1 earlier on. It's beginning to dry a little bit, like you said, Dorsey, but still spray off of those tires.
Yeah, that spray indicates that there's plenty of water out there to keep the tires cool. If it continues, though, and dries up more than that and the spray goes away, with those tires, they go away with the spray.
Nice and cool outside right now, probably right about 50 degrees, so rain tire temperature shouldn't be a big issue, at least not right now. It's a good battle a little bit further back.
I really truly suspect most of these cars are on a modified rain setup. In other words, they've taken some steps to address the rain issue, but I think our man in front, Merle Swan, I think that is a fully, they read the weather and they went full rain, full soft, full downforce, everything.
Good look at John Thompson. He was the Formula Atlantic National Champion in 1988. A good run in his division this year as well.
And you know, you've driven these cars too. The compromise between full rain and half rain setup is a lot.
Yeah, if you can put a full rain setup on it, and that's what the situation requires, it will be magic. And that's exactly what Merle Swan has in his hands right now. We'll see if he can hold on. The 2006 SCCA National Championship runoffs for Formula Atlantic. Merle Swan continues to lead. Fastest car on the racetrack right now, but some of the other guys turning in some pretty good lap times, but they're going to have to do a lot to catch this man. 16.5 seconds in hand the last time by.
Well, now here is the good news, if there is any, for the rest of the field. If it starts to dry up a little bit, like it looks like we're getting a little bit of a dry line, those modified setups to wet that aren't all the way there will become faster.
Well, and the problem for Merle Swan right now is exactly what you see. Lap traffic. He knows where his line is. He knows what kind of grip he has, but going offline is a problem.
William
for the 16 as well.
William Goldkind is spun. He's getting out of his car. That, I think, is right on the front straightaway, Brian, and not too far from the last corner. He wants out of there.
Yeah, he must have made contact. Otherwise, he wouldn't be getting out. His best runoff finish a third in C Sports Racing in 2005. That was just last year. So he has experience at the runoff and has done quite well.
But
a problem here.
Out, you see the corner workers helping him to the side. Let's take a look at a replay. We'll see if where that is exactly. There. Oh, he might make contact with the pit wall. Boom. Now see, if he'd locked the brakes up, he wouldn't have backed his car into the wall there. He could have just locked it up.
Exactly. So problems right now for William Goldkind and a problem for John Strickler.
John Strickler with that Mazda. Overheating, bad overheating.
Great run, John. Great run. I know you're not going to have the result that you want, but still a great run. He took that Pro Formula Mazda car and ran it well inside the top 3. Great run for John Strickler, but it is all going to end too soon.
Well, that's strange. You almost got to wonder maybe engine blew or something. Now that's the driver from the 16 that we saw that backed into the wall by allowing the brakes, Goldkind. Now they've got it high centered because it's such a low ride height.
Well, looked like there was definitely damage. Oh, and problems for David Wilcox.
That's a shame. David Wilcox fighting so hard and has a spin. Looks like down turn 1.
Got to wonder if perhaps Strickler not a problem of some overheating, perhaps mud in his radiator or something like that, Dorsey?
Brian, you said at the beginning of the show that when the track starts to dry, the conditions continually change. Things actually get much more slippery and a lot worse than when it was raining.
Hey, if it's me, I want it to rain.
Yeah,
give me rain or give me dry. Yeah. But this is the most difficult condition that you will ever drive in.
Yeah, raining is okay. Once you get used to the rain, it's fine. But when it starts drying out, certain areas are slippery, some of them aren't, and you don't know how to play it.
Every single lap is different. Now the battle for second, third, and fourth. The number 12, the red and white Swift, David Grant, holding down the second spot. Kyle Kelly trying to come back from his mistakes early on.
And Keith Grant, the brother, coming up as well. You get braver when there's more grip, and more grip is starting to come about. Oh, I don't like tow trucks on the racetrack in the middle of a rain race.
I was going to say, especially under these conditions, the grip is so minimal to begin with, and that just makes it even more treacherous, especially through these tight sections. Jim Trado, what do you have?
I'm going to speak with Aaron Hoover as soon as his drivers go by. He actually manages and works on the teams pretty much as a solo effort with Aaron Hoover here, working with the Grant family. David and, of course, his brother qualifying well all week long. They weren't really expecting the wet weather, but we'll bug Aaron here as soon as he's done chatting with his drivers. And Aaron, tell us about the setup on these race cars. Do you have something for Merle here in the wet?
Seriously, I don't think so. You know, anything can happen, but under the circumstances, we don't have the proper setup. You know, it's nobody's fault but ours. But you know, if we get on the podium, you know, I guess that's really the most we could expect under the circumstances.
Any idea what happened with the 12 and the 40? I understand there may be some body damage to both.
Well, Keith got some damage. The number 40 does from when he went off the track in the first turn. He had some steering damage and some damage to the undercarriage.
The front wing is shattering on the 12. Is that a concern?
No, actually, at a certain speed they all chatter. You know, at one certain speed they do. But no, that's no concern. We're not running our normal speeds anyway.
Aaron Hoover also said that he's a one-man band and trying to change 3 cars over with Papa Grant running in GT1. He did not have the time in the full setup to change things. This is his toolbox and this is his tool cart, he said. A quad with a Tupperware tub.
Well, here's the deal. Yeah, they all chatter a little bit. Not like that. That front wing is askew. And these cars are so sensitive, Dorsey. The aerodynamics are critical, and a wing moving around like that does not give you the aerodynamic balance that you need.
Well, it actually creates lift and then downforce, and that's what's causing it to chatter. It's unloading the front end, then it's coming back up and down. Quite
right now, David Grant having problems of his own. Merle Swan, no problems at all. A 15-second lead in hand in the 2006 Formula Atlantic National Championship battle.
A lot of you might think that the secrets to Mark Nixon's Toyota Formula Atlantic car lie underneath the bodywork. Well, the real secret is here inside the trailer. Mark Nixon actually built and designed his own racing simulator and has the actual Heartland Park track in here. Now, Mark, how in the world did you do this?
A lot of track data, digital photos, onboard video, driving through the track. All of this brought into a database where we then modified the physics and how the track would behave and so forth to make it as realistic as possible.
Now, Mark's told me he's done over 100 laps every day, and it's already come up to 2 seconds on the track.
You know, I have a hard time doing like spreadsheets on my computer. I certainly don't think that I can come up with a driving simulator, Mike.
Well, I actually asked Mark Nixon earlier today. I said, you know, were you able to put a rain setup into that computer? He said, yes, he did. He's got so many variables, and he tried to fine-tune the setup for that. So, you know, I don't know if it really worked for him today.
I don't believe in video games. I do not believe. Here's a problem.
That's the 11.
And that's gotten, I think, going the wrong direction. I'm not sure. No, he's going the right way.
Michael Malinin having problems out on the racetrack in his Ralt, one of the Ralt RT41s.
Just spins right in front of the featured driver with the simulator.
Yeah, I wonder if Nixon had spins programmed into his simulator. Other people having problems in front of him. Meanwhile,
Well, he's
Malin
in the
having
water.
problems getting it refired.
These cars, when they've been run for a while, are very difficult to get refired. They got a very small starter motor on them, and sometimes they just won't fire off. And he's in a bad place. They really need to get him out of there. So
problems for Malin, but no problems for Merle Swan. Now 10 seconds in hand, 4 laps to go. Look back a little further through the field. You see John Thompson there in his number 22 doing his best to get a top 10 finish here at the Runoffs, running 8th right now.
That car is sitting just on the outside of the exit of the bus stop, which is turn 9, and there's the slide on the entry. Now watch, this car should be right around the corner here.
That was the 92 of Fabio Castellani. So they really get locked up there, and now Thompson trying to work his way past, and there's the car. That has got to be taken care of.
Yeah, that is not good at all.
Here's the deal. Visibility is difficult to begin with. That is a black race car sitting around the corner and a lot of spray in the air.
Plus your leader's got a 10-second lead.
Exactly.
Get it?
Yeah, I hear you, Dorsey. Hard to see, and I wouldn't mind seeing a full course caution to take
There it is,
care
Brian.
of that.
They finally got it out. They were listening to us.
That is a good call right there.
Yeah, you don't risk somebody's safety in a situation like this. You know, you got to get that car out of there.
I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but the safety of the competitors is paramount. Merle Swan doesn't want to see his lead go away, but he doesn't want to see anybody have a problem with the stalled car on track either. So we'll have to wait to see if Merle Swan can collect his first SCCA National Championship. We'll find out when we come back. The Formula Atlantic National Championship is on the line. Merle Swan on point right now. He has the very quick car of David Grant right behind him under full course caution while we get a couple of cars cleaned up on the racetrack and the rest of the field gathers up behind the pace car. And I know Merle Swan, like I said as we went to break, doesn't want to see the pace car out, but at the same point in time, you got to take care of safety.
Safety is a paramount issue. I mean, that makes over anything else. Unfortunately, when they get to start-finish line, if they were to get the green flag this time, they'll be racing with 2 laps to go. And I don't know that they've got that cleaned up yet, so it might be even less than that. And a 1-lap shootout, it's not much fun in the rain either.
Well, we'll have to find out. Mike.
Yeah, Craig, you know, 10-second lead you had when this full course yellow came out. That's the last thing you wanted to see.
Absolutely the last thing we wanted to see.
As if you had any conversation with Merle, I know that the 12 car was kind of catching almost at 2 to 3 seconds a lap there.
No conversation with him. He's just concentrating pretty hard. So hopefully we can go back to green so we don't have to end under yellow. But I think if it does go green, I still think we have it.
Well, he will be on point, and the car behind him will be in the spray. Let's go to Jim.
Hey, Mike, we're checking in with Aaron Hoover again, once down in the pits of the 12 car. And I'm just wondering, Aaron, with this full course caution and being able to close in, he's checking with his driver, giving his driver the update. They've spoken very little on the radio, actually. Aaron, in terms of the opportunity here with the full course caution, is there something left for these guys to catch Merle?
Well, the 12 car, David, he's probably the only one that's got a shot, probably. And really that hinges on Merle making a mistake, probably, because he's got a better setup in the wet than we do. No question about it.
Aaron did also tell me that setting up 2 cars the same did not give him enough time to go full wet on the setup, so he again is not fully prepared in these highly finicky Formula Atlantic cars to feel comfortable out of full wet setup changeovers today.
That is exactly what we had theorized at the beginning, because if you don't have a full running setup in this kind of condition and someone else does, you're not going to catch him.
Lights off on the pace car. He will be coming to pit road. You'll notice a clock up in the top of your screen coming right up to 3 minutes. It is now a timed event. So 3 minutes now left in the Formula Atlantic National Championship. And Dorsey, by my calculations, that will be 2 laps.
That's going to be a sprint, and I'll tell you what, anything can and might happen. It's about to go green.
Onto the front straightaway, the green flag waves. Merle Swan, a good jump. You heard the crew chief say David Grant does not have the best setup on. It's an intermediate, and Swan really gets the power down coming out of the last corner. Now, Keith Grant beginning to put pressure on his brother, trying to get past the 33.
Kyle Kelly, he's inside Kyle, and he's got it made if he can make the corner 1 and 2, and he's going to.
Kelly looks back, tries to duck back underneath on the corner exit. He's side by side into 3.
He's got position headed down into 3, and that's a left-hand carousel. Now, can Grant stick on the outside?
No. And here comes David Wilcox in that older Swift DB4. He wants a part of this as well. Perhaps he had time to think during that full course caution. Where can I get these guys?
Wide.
Good move by Grant.
Good move by Grant. Wilcox trying to go to the outside in case it didn't work.
Kelly just got hung out there Grant timed that perfectly. Keith Grant, a great move around, gets past Kelly, now has his sights set. He's got a third place position. Can he chase down his brother? Can they chase down Merle Swan?
Well, he's got a lot of heat from behind, so he's going to have to keep an eye on the rearview mirror and also try to find his brother up ahead. I don't think he can do it with just one lap to go when they get there.
Keith Grant in his blue and green Swift, beginning to pull away from the red number 33 of Kyle Kelly. David Wilcox in the white and blue Swift right behind, now beginning to put pressure on Kelly.
Wilcox through the mud, did a good job of saving. He's still a little loose.
Merle Swan in the gray car that disappears from your screen right there is your leader. Then the number 12, the red and white of David Grant, followed by his brother Keith Grant. I'm sure these two will love it if they can finish on the podium together. One of them could win it. It would be even sweeter.
Absolutely would be sweet.
Just coming right up to a minute left, so there will be one more lap of competition. Merle Swan can't slow down enough to keep the clock from not tipping over. He's going to have to do one more lap around Heartland Park if he is to claim his first Formula Atlantic National Championship. Look at the two crews you see right there at the end. The crew member for David and Keith Grant.
Boy, unless somebody makes a big slip up. Look at the front wings on that car just hammering around, Brian.
Once again, the front wings on an Atlantic car are not designed to shimmy like that. And Grant, a little slide coming off of 2, giving it everything he can. But right now, Merle Swan, the better car.
Swan, for sure, the better car, can outrun this field. He's done so all day long. The race could be for second now. Keith Grant trying to make some room up on his brother David.
And Merle Swan not about to give up. How fast is he going? He just set the fast lap. With only one lap to go, Merle Swan, foot firmly on the pedal, head down, driving towards his first national championship.
I don't think Keith's going to have enough to catch David. David doing a really great job, even with that wing shaking all over the place.
Kyle Kelly beginning to pull a few car lengths out from David Wilcox, so Merle Swan needs to do what he's done the last several laps. Pay attention, keep it on the same line, don't change a thing, and bring it home to the checkered flag through the bus stop for the last time.
Car's been on a rail since lap 1. We have not seen it slip, slide, or falter.
The crew very pleased, nervous, saying, come on guys, we just have a few more corners to go out of the bus stop. David Grant negotiates it successfully as well, now through turn 10.
By this point in the thing, all three drivers realize there's no way they're going to improve their position if they don't make a mistake, so they're just getting it on home now.
And every slip and slide for Merle Swan right now feels like the car's out of control. He's nervous, he knows. 2 corners left. The national championship will be his. A good drive off of turn 14 will propel him to the checkered flag and the national championship. 2 more gear shifts. Merle Swan looks in his mirror. The crew waves him on, and the checkered flag flies for Merle Swan, the 2006 SCCA Formula Atlantic National Champion.
And the Grant brothers, David and Keith, second and third, podium.
Great run for all of these guys in incredibly difficult conditions. I cannot tell you how hard it is to negotiate this racetrack in such changing conditions. Merle Swan, he did it perfectly. From the drop of the green to the checkered flag, he never put a wheel wrong. The championship is his. The 2006 Formula Atlantic National Championship has been decided. Merle Swan, with a great drive, takes his Swift and takes the checkered flag. The championship has been decided, and Mike, I'm sure their celebrations are just beginning.
Merle Swan, you know, I think your team was a little nervous when that yellow flag came out, but a great drive all the way to the end.
They weren't the only ones that were nervous. Yeah, it was pretty tough. It was a total concentration game out there. I mean, it was so slick, and I was so indecisive at the start of the race what tire to choose, and we choose this Hoosier tire that Bruce said I brought a special tire just for this condition, and it worked.
Now, on that second restart, you know, we thought the Grant brothers were catching you up, but you just motored away. What did you have to do to get the power down just how you wanted?
I was just trying to get as good a run as I could out of the last corner. I was kind of conservative there in the middle because it was so slick, and I made one mistake, and I thought I'd reel it back a little bit and just try to stay on track. And I was just sighing pretty hard when I saw that yellow.
All right, well, congratulations. Great job, Brian. We got a new Formula Atlantic champion.
Merle Swan has had a great weekend. You see the Grant brothers right there. Good weekend for them as well. They finished second and third, so they can't complain. And what a weekend for Merle Swan. He takes the championship as a driver, also takes it in C Sports Racer as a crew chief for Hans Peter. So a great result for Merle Swan.
And a tough one for John Strickler, who had that Mazda really running good today in the rain. Unfortunately, either clogged the radiator with mud or something overheated.
The most trying conditions a race car driver can drive in, Merle Swan can be proud. He not only won the runoffs, but he did it in high style. The rain came down in Heartland Park, but it did not dampen the spirits of Merle Swan. He takes his first SCCA National Championship. It has been a good one for Jim Trado, Mike Johnson, Dorsey Schrader. I'm Brian Till. We've enjoyed bringing you all the action that is the SCCA National Championship runoffs. We'll see you around sometime. So long, everybody.